The ultimate Mercedes SL isn't the most powerful one. It's this model, the SL63 AMG. More than just a very powerful sporting luxury convertible, it aims to snare supercar buyers too, and seems to have the engine, the looks and the technology to do it.
Can a machine designed first and foremost to be a luxury sports car, if appropriately powered and fettled, really take itself to the next level and transform itself into a fully-fledged six-figure supercar? The evidence of recent years suggests not. With the arguable exception of Porsche's 911, a tauter, stiffer, more powerful luxury sports car remains exactly that. You'd like one, but you wouldn't really consider it as a credible alternative to an Aston Martin, a Ferrari, or even a Maserati, even though models from these famous brands won't reel in the horizon any quicker than contenders like BMW's M6, Jaguar's XKR-S, or indeed the car we're going to look at here, the Mercedes SL63 AMG. But things are changing. The success of the SLS gullwing model proved the Stuttgart brand's supercar credentials beyond doubt, and many of the same engineers that created that car reckon that this one is every bit as good, virtually as fast, around 35% cheaper to buy, and far less expensive to run. Nor need the fact that it's based on an ordinary SL now be any sort of disadvantage. After all, the 2012 onwards generation version of this car has a more dynamic set of underpinnings than any SL model since the 50s. And under the bonnet there's a new 5.5 litre twin turbocharged V8 power plant that, for my money, sounds just as good as anything from Maranello. Time then to re-evaluate the SL63 AMG. So, what would sell this car to you? Well, let me show you what would sell it to me. What a sound! A mixture of NASCAR V8, Vulcan bomber and American muscle car, all rolled into one glorious burbling roar. Now, despite the retention of the 63 part of the SL AMG badge, there's no longer the 6.2 litre V8 engine under the bonnet that featured in this car's predecessor, an engine indeed that you'll still find plumbed into Mercedes SLS AMG gullwing supercar. Instead, there's a twin-turbo 5.5 litre V8 unit that may be smaller but actually offers a fair bit more grunt. Peak power having risen from 525 to 544 PS. Well, actually, there's a fair bit more than that on offer here, because this car has the extra cost performance package that teases power up even further to 572 PS. This whole package also deals with the pesky 155 mph limited speed that has been put in standard models to satisfy the green lobby. So if you've got a runway or an autobahn nearby that's empty and ready for you to use, then this car will actually top out at 186 miles an hour, performance package fitted. This package also includes red painted brake calipers and a rear axle limited slip differential lock. Now, I'm not sure I'd want to be going quite that fast if I was travelling like this with the roof down, but the engineers do claim that at speeds of up to 125 miles an hour, occupants will remain unruffled and easily able to converse, something I recently verified myself while lapping at the Goodwood racetrack. When you do want to operate the Vario electric top, it's slightly annoying that, unlike fabric-topped rivals, you have to stop completely before the mechanism will work. Still, it does do its Swiss Army knife style thing in no more than around 20 seconds. And when the roof is up and all the metal panels have elaborately slotted into place, you do have the advantage of greater roof-up refinement than any soft top could provide, something further aided by the fitment of acoustic film in the laminated windscreen. It's a great engine, this 5.5 litre V8. Whereas the older 6.2 litre unit needs to be revved to give of its best, the twin turbos in this power plant offer up instant urge at almost any speed. So exactly how fast are we talking? Well, get this car on a really grippy surface in perfect conditions and you could just replicate the quoted 4.3 second 0 to 62 mile an hour sprint time. Now on paper that's a few tenths slower than either the top AMG, the 6 litre V12 SL65 AMG variant, or the SLS AMG Gullwing supercar model. But in practice, take it from me, there's not a lot in it. It's also slightly slower than potential rivals like the Audi R8 V10, the Porsche 911 Turbo, or the Ferrari California. But again, there's not much in it. And anyway, I'd trade a few tenths for that glorious V8 roar. As with other AMG models, you've got a drive control unit, a rotary controller just below the gear stick here that enables you to switch between comfort, sport and sport plus modes. The respective settings tweaking the steering, the throttle response and the gear change speed to suit the mood that you're in. There's even an RS or race start setting for tyre smoking getaways. All those braked horses are translated onto the tarmac by a more effective transmission too. The rather slothful 7G-tronic 7-speed auto box that featured on the previous generation version of this car has been replaced by a quicker thinking speed shift MCT 7-speed setup that offers quicker changes, but changes that still aren't quite as rifle sharp and quick as those of rival supercars, however fast you try and be with these steering wheel mounted paddle shifters. Something else the engineers at Affalterbach need to work on is the electromechanical speed sensitive power steering. I'd agree that it's certainly better than in the previous generation version of this car, but in a class that features electromechanical steering setups as good as that in Porsche's 7th generation 911, being better simply isn't good enough. Still, if you're graduating to this car from a previous generation SL AMG model, it'll feel very responsive indeed, in terms of chassis dynamics as well as steering feel. The reason why isn't only down to the 170 kilogram weight saving brought about by this 6th generation SL model's aluminium underpinnings. No, there have been some fundamental engineering changes too. A wider track for greater stability, a torque vectoring system for sharper corner turning, and an AMG specific 3-stage ESP stability control system that features a sport handling mode for particularly keen drivers. Arguably more important than all of that though is the standard inclusion here of the latest version of Mercedes ABC active body control system. It uses sensors on the wheels to measure their movement and the forces acting upon them before actively moving the wheels up and down to compensate for body movements. Which means that the car doesn't pitch and roll, with roll stiffness varied front and rear according to your speed. Active body control automatically lowers the car at higher speeds to bring down its centre of gravity, or on really poor surfaces you can raise the ride height. There are two main suspension settings, Sport and Comfort, that you can select via this button down by the gear stick. And when the road opens up and you don't want to mess about trying to figure out all of your favourite modes for stability control, suspension and throttle response, well, you don't have to worry about that if you store them all under one AMG setting that's accessible via this bottom button here. The SL63's more athletic stance is undeniably purposeful. The central feature is the large three-pointed star on the front grille, mounted on two blade-like louvres profiled like an aircraft wing. Moving down the side of the car, there are AMG side sill panels and V8 bi-turbo badges on the side vent grills that have fins in silver chrome. At the rear, you'll spot an AMG spoiler lip, 4 chrome tailpipes for the sports exhaust system, and a diffuser-style rear apron with a body-coloured insert. But it's what you can't see that's important here. SL may stand for Sport Light, but historically this car has always been something of a sporting heavy hitter, big in bulk, and to compensate, well provided for in power. It was a combination hardly in keeping with these eco-conscious times, and when early development suggested that despite the engineer's best efforts, this 6th generation model would be even lardier, the Stuttgart board took a deep breath and decided to turn the clock back. The very first SL in 1952 was made of aluminium, so too with this Mark VI model. That they knew would make it expensive for the Bremen factory to build, but a weight saving for AMG models of up to 170 kilograms would also make the car a lot less expensive for owners to run. Of course, this car could have been lighter still if the designers had dispensed with the bulky, electrically operated Vario metal folding roof. It's something that Mercedes alone now offers in this segment. It eats into boot space, making it impossible for Mercedes to offer the kind of occasional rear seats that you'll find in ragtop competitors from Jaguar, BMW and Porsche. But this metal folding roof is also one of the things that most appeals about this car to city-based owners. The mechanism is slower than a fabric hood would be, and unlike a soft top, has the disadvantage that it can't be used at slow speeds on the move. However, in recent times, the whole system has been speeded up so that the elaborate metal panels raise or lower in a respectable 20 seconds. Of course, in our miserable climate, you're going to be travelling top up rather a lot of the time. But at least when you are, you can do so with more of a light and airy feeling if you've ticked the box to specify this roof panel either in panoramic glass with a draw across blind, or as in this case with what Mercedes calls magic sky control. It's a neat touch that uses electroreactive particles to be able to change the roof from light to dark at the press of a button, making top-up motoring that bit more pleasant. When you're travelling roof down, things can also be a bit more comfortable if you specify the nice but unfortunately optional feature of the neck level heating system that'll make you more tempted to travel al fresco on chilly mornings like this one. Some things haven't changed though. This is still the most spacious car in its class for front seat occupants, the more so since this current generation model has grown by 50mm in length and 57mm in width, creating a most unsports car-like feeling of being able to stretch out in a beautifully appointed cabin. For this interior, influences have been drawn from the world of aviation, with the wing-shaped dash dominated by these gorgeous jet turbine style air vents and the centre console modelled on the flight deck of an aircraft. Buyers of this top model get AMG sports seats in single or two-tone Napa leather, AMG carbon fibre trim, AMG illuminated door sill inserts, the AMG sports steering wheel with a logo in the lower metal insert part of it, a set of AMG instruments with a TFT colour display, and an AMG startup display with a race timer mode. To your left, the dash is dominated by the huge command infotainment display screen, the control for which is down by the small but exquisitely styled direct select automatic gear lever. The only change I personally wouldn't have made to this generation SL is the addition of an electronic parking brake, but that has at least freed up extra space for oddments within the interior. And talking of cabin space, the fact that this car can only accommodate 2 people has freed up space for a large lidded bin behind the seats to keep valuables away from prying eyes. Out back, there's 504 litres of total boot capacity once the roof is in place. Obviously you've got a little less than that when the roof is folded back, 364 litres, though in that situation you can at least use this button to move the roof sandwich out of the way so you can more easily get things in. With well over 500 PS on tap and a price tag of just over £110,000, you might expect this V8 powered SL63 AMG to represent the pinnacle of SL motoring. Not a bit of it. Those for whom too much is never enough can opt to pay around £170,000 and get themselves the V12 engined SL65 AMG. That's about the same money as you'd pay for Mercedes SLS AMG Gullwing model. Now, the SL65 has 630 PS on tap. That's more power than anything else that Mercedes makes. But unless that stat particularly appeals to you, I can't really make a case for one of those. To be frank, the SLS is a better car in every way. When it comes to this model though, things are very different. Let's start with the asking price. True, £110,000 is an awful lot of money, but with comparable Aston Martin V12 Vantage Roadster and Ferrari California rivals offering significantly less power but wearing £150,000 asking prices, you can see how this Mercedes might look tempting in the showroom. After all, comparable models from less exalted brands cost more and offer no more power beneath the bonnet. For example, an Audi R8 V10 Spider would cost you around £11,000 more, while a Porsche 911 Turbo S Cabriolet would cost you around £25,000 more. Only less credible cars can match the performance per pound equation on offer here. Maserati's Gran Turismo MC Stradale might seem tempting for around the same money as this Mercedes, but it offers you nearly 100 brake horsepower less and only comes in fixed top form. That only leaves convertible versions of cars like Jaguar's XKR-S or BMW's M6. Now, both will save you money over this SL63, but not as much as you might think, a £100,000 budget being needed in each case. And though both of those cars are as fast as this Mercedes, neither has this SL's heritage, its clever folding metal hardtop roof, or its glorious V8 roar. If, having considered all of this, you conclude that purchase of an SL63 AMG is going to be the way that you reward yourself for a lifetime's endeavour, then the first choice you'll have to make is whether you're going to be one of the 25% or so of buyers who opt to pay around £12,500 extra for the performance package that boosts the power of this big V8 from 544 to 572 PS. Now, as part of this same package, you get an increase in the maximum speed from 155 to 186 miles an hour, a rear axle limited slip differential lock, an AMG performance steering wheel, a rear spoiler lip and an engine cover trimmed in carbon fibre, red painted brake calipers and attendance at an AMG Power and Passion driving event. Personally, were I wealthy enough to buy this car, I'd have no trouble finding the funds for any of that. I might even stump up extra for these brilliant active multi-contour massage seats, the comfort ventilated air-conditioned seat option, the brilliant 14-speaker Harman Kardon Logic 7 surround sound audio setup, or even the active park assist with Parktronic setup that'll automatically steer you into the tighter spaces. I might, though, as a potential buyer, slightly balk at having to pay more for what are really SL staple items. Things like the air scarf neck level ventilation system, a colour reverse parking camera, an electronically operated wind deflector, or the Magic Sky Control roof with its switchable transparency setting. That apart, the trim spec is comprehensive. AMG engineers have breathed on everything, from the Speed Shift MCT 7-speed auto sports transmission to the sports exhaust system with its twin chromed AMG tailpipes. From the sports suspension with its standard ABC active body control setup to the speed-sensitive sports steering and a high-performance braking system. AMG's stylists have been equally busy, so you'll find that Mercedes, a full-to-back division, has provided everything from the gorgeous 19-inch 5 twin-spoke alloy wheels to the twin Louvre silver-chromed radiator grille. And inside, everything from the lovely analog dashboard clock and the brushed stainless steel door sill panels that illuminate in white, to the twin tube instrument display with its TFT central section, and of course the embossed sports seats. Other standard features include rain sensing wipers, heated and powered sports seats trimmed in Napa leather, and luxury automatic climate control. Best of all, perhaps, the kit tally runs to inclusion of Mercedes' Command Online system, which via a 7-inch colour screen enables you to control by voice or by button an HDD satellite navigation system, a 10 gigabyte music register, a 6-disc in-dash CD auto changer, and a media interface with aux-in, USB and iPod connectivity. And safety, well, there's plenty of that. There are 6 airbags, NeckPro anti-whiplash head restraints, tyre pressure monitoring, an auto-dimming rearview mirror, an active bonnet to restrict pedestrian injuries, and roll bars that spring up behind the head restraints in milliseconds should a potential rollover situation be detected. As you'd expect, there are all the usual electronic assistance features for stability and traction control, plus steer assist, a setup that helps stabilise the car when you're braking on surfaces with different levels of grip. And talking of braking, well, there's a system that will flash its brake lights at following motorists during emergency stops that will be further aided by a Brake Assist Plus system. And there's torque vectoring brakes that lightly brake the inside rear wheel during cornering for tighter turning. And there's more. Take the adaptive brake system that stops you from rolling backwards on uphill junctions, that primes the brakes whenever you come off the throttle, and that wipes the brake discs in wet weather for optimum performance. Then there's the attention assist system that will monitor you as you drive, that will look at your reactions, and that will flag up a warning if drowsiness is detected, asking you to stop for a restorative coffee. And the Bi-Xenon intelligent light system that is able to alter the light pattern depending on how and where the car is driven, and it can also dip the full beam automatically at night in the face of oncoming motorists. And you've got pre-safe, a system that will automatically pre-tension the seat belts and move the seats to their safest position should the ESP system suggest that the car is about to skid. If you want to go further than that, then you'll need to specify the driver assistance package that I've got here. Now, this includes something called Distronic with pre-safe brake. It's a system that uses a radar mounted at the top of the windscreen here to constantly scan the road ahead for potential collision hazards. If one is detected, then it'll warn the driver. If the driver doesn't respond, then the system can even brake the car for you. The package, also includes active blind spot assist that'll stop you dangerously pulling out to overtake in front of another car, and active lane keeping assist that'll stop dozy drivers from veering out of their lanes on the highway. Despite significant increases in power, torque and acceleration, this car is up to 30% cleaner and more efficient than its direct predecessor, thanks to improvements in AMG powertrain technology allied to smoother aerodynamics and weight reductions of up to 170 kilograms. Now, Mercedes has gone to extraordinary lengths to achieve these weight reductions. There's even a carbon fibre inner support for the boot lid, which saves an additional 5 kilograms. As a result of all this care, the curb weight has been kept to 1,845 kilograms. And thanks to both this and an eco start-stop system that cuts the engine when you don't need it, stuck in traffic or waiting at the lights, surprising fuel and CO2 returns are possible for those prepared to exercise a little right foot restraint. SL63 AMG buyers are supposed to be able to achieve 28.5 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 231 grams per kilometre of CO2. Those are figures that even apply if you choose to boost power from 544 to 572 PS, courtesy of the extra cost performance package. Of course, when you're paying this kind of money, operating range is often more important than actual fuel consumption figures. So it's annoying to find that in pursuit of a frankly insignificant weight saving, the development engineers of this car have reduced the size of the fuel tank from 80 to 75 litres, though that's still better than the 65 litre item you'd find on a standard SL. What else? Insurance, as you'd expect, is a top of the shop Group 50, and residual values, well, as you'd expect, depreciation will be a significant ownership cost, but it won't be as painful as it would be in rival models like Jaguar's XKR-S or the BMW M6. And it also helps that SL buyers tend to keep their cars for longer, so benefit from resale at the less painful part of the residuals curve. So, is this really a supercar, or merely a sporting luxury convertible with a very powerful engine? You'll find plenty in this exalted marketplace with opinions either way. But what's not up for debate is the fact that this SL63 AMG has brought Mercedes SL line closer to supercar status than any model before it. Not only does it have the right kind of raw power, but it can handle it too, thanks to lithe aluminium underpinnings, active body control, and sharper responses than many will expect from a car of this kind, and especially from a car with an AMG badge. But perhaps we shouldn't be surprised. AMG, after all, means something very different these days. A Mercedes tuning division already lauded for its work on C63 and SLS models that have shocked established players in their respective sectors. This SL63 will do the same. Quick, beautifully engineered and efficient, it can perform a dual role like few other big roadsters, chasing Ferraris 1 minute, then settling back into a French Riviera cruise the next. It's certainly good enough to make potential Mercedes SLS AMG roadster buyers question the need for spending nearly £70,000 more. But will it make Ferrari and Aston Martin people feel the same? That, of course, will be the acid test.